How's it going, everybody? I'm Steve, and welcome back. So tonight I want to do a tribute to John Hughes and John Candy. Obviously, the two of them worked together 7 times. Obviously, John Candy must have made John Hughes laugh quite a bit because they seem to have a great friendship, loved working together. So tonight I'm going to do I'm going to do a tribute to John Candy later. But first I'm going to do a top five, the top five John Hughes movies that I own in my collection, the ones that he directed. He only directed like 8 movies altogether, but he wrote tons of stuff. He basically, I think he started off at age 30, working for National Lampoon magazine, and obviously he must have been he learned that he said he learned how to write really fast because of that, because he had to meet deadlines all the time. So, but actually, I really like a lot of movies that he actually wrote as well, not just directed, but I think he wrote all the movies that he directed, but he actually wrote some other great movies that I love as well. One would be National Lampoon's Vacation. Classic movie. One movie that I watch every year, probably even more than the original Vacation, would be Christmas Vacation. This is one I have to watch every December. And obviously, he wrote Home Alone. He did Home Alone 2 as well. I love the original a lot more than the sequel, but I know that people love the sequel as well. And he also did Mr. Mom, which is actually a movie I don't own, but it's one I need to rewatch. It's been a while since I've seen it, with Michael Keaton. Terry Gard, the late Terry Gard's in that movie as well. As far as this top 5 ranking, I'm ranking them from basically least rewatchable to most rewatchable. So you'll see one that I have in here that I've kind of ranked a little bit low, but and I think it's a classic movie. But you'll see what I mean. I want the ones that I watch the most are the ones that I have ranked higher. So okay, so you'll notice the 3 that I don't have in my collection. You'll know once I get down to the top 5 here. You know which ones those are. But at number 5, this one's from 1985. And the movie is Weird Science. This one's has Anthony Michael Hall, Kelly LeBrock, looks like Elon Mitchell Smith, Bill Paxton, Robert Downey Jr. is in this movie as well. It's one of his earlier roles. But this is a classic movie. I think the ones that I have in my top 5 here are all like teen comedies. The ones that he did later on, I think I've seen all of them except for like Curly Sue. But it's I think this one's great though. It's Kelly LeBrock. Back in the 80s, she was really hot back then, and it was great to see her. If you've ever seen The Woman in Red, she's in that movie as well. But okay, so at number 4, this one's actually also from 1985. That's Spine Number 905 in the Criterion Collection, and the movie is The Breakfast Club. Now, certainly, I think you can make the argument this is probably his best movie as far as writing is concerned. The movie's heavy on dialogue. It's in that way, it's probably has the most substance of any John Hughes movie, just because of the subject matter and the things that at least back then what teens went through, having different groups and stuff that people kind of gravitate to. But this one I would say I think basically you would say this is probably his best movie. But and I'm going by the most least rewatchable to most rewatchable. So the ones I have ranked above this are I watch a little bit more. But obviously this has Molly Ringwald, Judd Nelson, Emilio Estevez, Anthony Michael Hall, Ali Sheedy, Paul Gleason. If you ever, he's in some great movies back in the 80s like Trading Places and Die Hard. That guy, he plays the high school principal. So for me, that's why I would say this one's probably, technically probably the best John Hughes movie. But for me, it's not the most rewatchable, but I still think it's a great movie. All right, so coming in at number 3 for 1984, I have 16 Candles. This has a great soundtrack. Obviously, has Molly Ringwald and Anthony Michael Hall are in this. It has Paul Dooley. I looked it up today. He's 96 years old. He's still alive. Which have you ever seen Breaking Away? He did that back in the late 70s. The Refund. The guy, he's kind of classic for that line. I couldn't believe he's still alive. Every year I kind of check to see if he's still living, and it's amazing. In '96 he's still here. But to me, like I said, this is most rewatchable. Number 3 most rewatchable. It's the most fun. A lot of these movies, I was a young kid back then, so I was like 11 years old in 1984. So that's why these, teen comedies are gonna be higher on my list. But this one's a classic with a great comedy. John Hughes kind of showed he can do really great teen comedies, and so that's why I have it at number 3. Okay, so coming at number 2 for 1987, I have Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Obviously, this is the movie I watched this past Friday. Normally, I would watch it like the night before Thanksgiving, but we got together with some friends on a live stream last Friday, and everybody else was watching this movie then, so I decided to watch it too. Just kind of leave the, get that tradition going there. Obviously, it has a Steve Martin, John Candy's in this movie. It's one of the 7 movies that he worked with John Hughes with. Obviously, it's just a classic movie. It's one that it kind of grows on you every time you watch it. It's one I watched back then. For a long time, I didn't watch this movie before Thanksgiving, and it took me a while, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, to pick it up again. And since then, I've watched it every year. So it's just it's really kind of a touching movie. Obviously, John Candy's known for being being the kind of slapstick kind of humor kind of stuff, and then there's really some serious moments in this movie. And if you know his character's backstory, obviously the way it ends and everything, it's quite heartwarming. So, all right, so at number 1 for 1986, I have Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Obviously, this is a classic comedy, featuring Matthew Broderick as a Mia Sara, as a Alan Ruck, and obviously this one really takes place in Chicago, which John Hughes is from Chicago, so a lot of his movies are at least partially filmed in Chicago. Some like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, he filmed in different areas. Like it starts off in New York, and then I think a lot of it was filmed in Illinois. But Matthew Broderick, this is my favorite movie from him. He did some other movies. I think he's really good in Election. Some of the stuff he did before this were really good, like War Games. And then after that, he kind of maybe dropped off a little bit. He pops up in a movie every now and then. He was in a movie last year as well. But this is, I think, the most fun, the most quotable of any John Hughes movie. So I had to put it at number 1. Okay, so before I leave, obviously I wanted to mention John Candy. He passed away 30 years ago in 1994, which is amazing. He's been gone that long. But obviously, I mentioned he and John Hughes worked together 7 times. Some of these movies I already mentioned, but like Vacation, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, The Great Outdoors, Uncle Buck, Home Alone, Career Opportunities, and Only the Lonely. So and some I think Only the Lonely, I don't think I've ever seen that one. But and Career Opportunities, I probably need to get that movie, but I probably need to own that movie. But but obviously they developed a close friendship. And I read that John Hughes was really heartbroken when he found out that Candy had passed away, like a lot of us were. But because they had worked together so many times, I'm sure he really felt that loss. But like I said, it's really sad that we've lost both of them. It's obviously you're going to remember them every time you watch their movies. Obviously, this movie, Ferris Bueller, was the only one that John Hughes ever did a commentary for. So it's amazing. When this movie was released on DVD, it had the commentary. Then they released it on Blu-ray. It didn't have the commentary, and then now it's on 4K, and they put the commentary back on it. So it's like listening to like a close friend, just hearing him talk about the movie, and it makes it special because this is the only one he ever did. So, but obviously, please, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please consider doing that. Please put a thumbs up on this video, and everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you.